Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name's Deshaun and today I'm here to give you a horror classic. This week's horror classic will be The Lost Boys. 1987's The Lost Boys. Now, Lost Boys is one of my all-time favorite movies. I believe I even got it on VHS somewhere around here. Do I even have a VHS player? I think my mom has a VHS player. So maybe we do have a VHS player somewhere around here. But yeah, 1987, Lost Boys is a classic. It's a classic tale. Two brothers with their single mom come moving to Northern California, and you know they come moving out there. They're new to this area. They don't really know anyone. Want to get to know this area, but it's very mysterious out here. There are missing posters all over with young boys and adults. It's just missing posters, but you don't think nothing of it. And wouldn't you know, it turns out vampires are stalking this area, and they have to deal with it. Now, the way this movie kind of comes about, so I'll just give you kind of a brief things. These two brothers, like I said, come moving to South California with their mother, and the oldest brother, he's out going to the carnivals, you know, like they have out there in a lot of those Cali areas. He's going to the carnivals, you know, the areas and whatnot, and he sees a girl, beautiful girl, but she's hanging out with these really creepy dudes, and one of them being played by Kiefer Sutherland as a great Kiefer Sutherland, and they got the whole the metal hair going with the long, you know, crazy hair and the leather jackets and everything. And then you got, this is the 80s, man. This is in 1987, so like this was probably ridiculously awesome at the time. Honestly, still kind of awesome. But yeah, he goes to this thing, one of the all-time best horror movie moments of all time, which isn't even a horror moment, but it's just such a memorable moment to me. At one point, Michael, who's the main character, he's the main character. Michael, the eldest brother, who's kind of looking at, who's trying to kind of been mystified by this woman. The older character, Michael, goes to that like carnival, like, and you know, he's just trying to get out of the house, gotta get away from mom and brother, and you know, he's just trying to get out and do some stuff. And he goes to that carnival and he sees that girl. And at the carnival, there's a musician playing, and like he has been dubbed Sexy Sax Man. That is his name. I'm telling you right now, if you Google Sexy Sax Man, you will see him. And this dude I've never seen anyone play a saxophone so passionate. And he's good too. That's the thing. He's good. He is killing that sax. But he has his shirt off, right? And he looks all greased up. So he's like ripped. He's just shredded. He is beef. And he is fucking that saxophone. Not literally, but metaphorically. He is feeling it, dude. He is going at it on stage, man. It's funny because he's been doing it in a crazy side note. The actual guy who's dubbed Sexy Sax Man actually does that. He's been doing it for years, showing up at conventions with his shirt off and doing the whole saxophone bit. So that's just funny to me. Because I remember that moment when I first saw this movie being so memorable. Like this dude, like in the middle of this horror movie, this dude is just killing his sax. This dude is just going at it. And so, but that's just a side note. But anyways, yeah, Michael, he sees this girl, she's beautiful, he's kind of into her, trying to talk to her, and bam, he meets these other guys, these weirdos, these weird teenagers who kind of got a weird thing going on. He didn't see them during the day. He hasn't seen none of them during the day. So, but he's trying to get with her. He's thinking with his other head, not his other head, and of course, trying to get the girl, you're hanging around them, and like it's kind of like you don't know if she's with one of them or not. You kind of like, it's just a weird situation. Needless to say, Michael, they like him, or at least Kiefer Sutherland's character, he likes him. He really likes Michael, and he invites him to come back to their place and hang. Now, like I said, Michael's thinking with his other head. He ain't thinking with his other head. He's just like, I want to get with that. And let's say he follows them in the middle of nowhere. Like they start riding bikes, and there's this whole part where they start playing that amazing song, man. I think it's called I'm trying to remember the song. It's like Is it Cry Little Sister? I think it's called Cry Little Sister. I can't remember. I think that's the name of the song, but it's a really good song. It's creepy too. Like that song was both weird and creepy because it had that vibe to it. That's weird kind of like because every fucking horror movie back in the day had the piano hits. But yeah, that song was so creepy. And all of a sudden they get to this area and it's just like fog, and it's a hole there. And it's clear that this fall is a lot farther than they're making. You can't see how far the fall is, but you're kind of like, but when they jump down, they hear them go, woo! Like, no, can't be that far. And they just keep jumping down there. And of course, like I said, thinking with this head, not this head, he's like, I mean, look, I gotta impress her. She's beautiful. I mean, I don't believe in vampires. I mean, clearly, if you guys are just jumping to your death. So he jumps. And he, like, falls asleep, wakes back up, and he's under there. You know, you don't know what's happening. Now, clearly, you know these are vampires because eventually they end up pulling that stunt of he drinks this, takes out this red bottle and drinks it, and you don't know what it is, and he gives it to Michael, and he says, be one of us. And like I said, Michael's looking at her the whole time, thinking about that. Now, it's become apparently clear to me now, after rewatching that movie, that she was, like, clearly, she was the hook. Like, she's the hook. It's like if they need to feed or bring someone to their ranks that they like, she's the hook. Beautiful girl, send her out there. Boy, look at her. You know, it was kind of this weird too. I'm not gonna say what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not gonna say it was I'm trying to think of the right word to say here. But there was this like there was this bit insinuation that the reason that Kiefer Sutherland's character, which I'm blanking on his name, I think it's like Malachi or something like that. I think it's like Malachi, something along those lines. No, not Malachi. David. David. There it is. Kiefer Sutherland's villain's David. I think it's kind of insinuated that David, he purposely goes after handsome, attractive boys because the way he looked at Michael was as if he was like, oh, you're handsome, you're attractive. You got the spunk to be one of us, and you can bring it. And it makes perfect sense when you think about it. If you're a pack leader of vampires, you want to have the most attractive, most appealing baits. It's like, no, you guys aren't just a part of the pack. You guys are the bait too. I need her to go out there and bait you in so that you can go out there and bait another one of her in. And we can keep this fucking cycle going. You go out there and bait her in. You're attractive, go bait her in. I'm going to send her out there to go be attracted to another dude, bait him in. And if we don't like you, we'll eat you. And if I think you're attractive enough, you're going to be one of us. And that's kind of what happened there. And the rest of the story is essentially Michael slowly turning into a vampire, not knowing what in the F is going on. Meanwhile, his little brother has befriended these weirdo nerds at this comic book store who are telling him tales of being a vampire hunters and vampires exist and how they're only out here because they're out here to kill vampires, brother. And it's like, sure, vampires exist. And he befriends these guys and they're cool. The Frog Brothers, they're legendary, man. Frog Brothers are legendary. Two little like fucking like 12-year-old, like 13-year-olds who kill vampires for a living. Sure. And as it turns out, they were completely correct. They were on the money. There were vampires here. They knew what was going on, and they did some inventive shit. I mean, who would have thought putting holy water in a squirt gun, holy water in a squirt gun, holy water in water balloons, filling a bathtub up with holy water, and dunking a vampire in there, like all that stuff is crazy. All that original stuff, man. Shooting it in the heart, shooting a vampire in the heart with a bow and arrow. I mean, they did all the craziness. The Frog Brothers were fucking awesome. They were always awesome. Always awesome. And like I said, this is a movie that's both, it's kind of a comedy and it's like, this is a movie that kind of blends that area of like satire. It's like, this is one of those first movies, and not to mention, even at the time, this movie was very revolutionary in the sense that before Lost Boys, all vampire movies were really serious. They were really serious. They were really like kind of like they were really like slow, and some of them were romantic. They were either super serious, they were romantic, super serious, violent. You got the real violent ones. Like I believe like Blackula is very violent. Like I remember like hearing about that movie when I was a child. My grandmother, because my grandmother would watch it because it's another blaxploitation film. And like go back and look at that movie. It's really violent. Like it's more violent than some of the older vampire movies. It's freaking violent. And then you got really violent. Like I said, vampire movies got pretty violent. It's not until Lost Boys that vampires became not sexy, but they became like, oh, they love being what they are. Not only are they happy being what they are, they're not like they're happy being what they are. They enjoy being what they are. Like it's not so serious to them. It's not so like it's a thing. It's life, and like you just get that feeling. And it's never completely stated in the movie. You never really hear. I don't think you ever at one point hear them say the words "lost boys," but it's very clear that David, played by Kiefer Sutherland, has kidnapped and turned all of these boys who are part of his group. They are the Lost Boys. They are the boys who disappeared, never to be seen again. And they became a part of David's pack. He turned them. He gave them his blood. He turned them. That's what happened. You know, it's pretty straightforward. They are the Lost. They are the Lost Boys. And Michael was set to become another Lost Boy, but that didn't happen. So but that didn't happen because vampire logic. You kill the head vampire. Before a certain time. Like they kind of play with that a lot in lore. Either you kill the head vampire before you feed. That's a lot of it. It's like before you feed, you have to kill the head vampire, or you kill the head vampire, or you kill the head vampire, and everyone it turned reverts back. I think that's the one they did there, because I think that even in the end, the girl, she ended up reverting back to normal as well. I don't remember like watching the movie if it's ever specified how long she was a vampire, but she turned back too. So Michael gets the girl. The Frog Brothers got a friend. Not only did the Frog Brothers get a friend, but they got more, satisfaction. They saved the day. The entire area doesn't have to live in terror of these vampires being out here, even though no one would still believe them. I mean, the movie starts off with them peeling the top of a car door off, but like it's nothing. But yeah, these vampires were unique too, because they were the transformative vampires. See, granted, my favorite vampires are the Blade vampires. I just think those vampires make sense. Like, logically, like, Blade's the only vampire movie that I remember, like, the only vampire thing I remember actually trying to attempt to make it make any sense, to be like, this is what they look like, it's pretty straightforward and simple, you can use some silver, they got blood banks, so that, like, Blade's the only time they tried to make vampires make a lick of sense, but this one is a transformative vampire, so, like, they look different, and the prosthetics for them when they turn into vampires was really top-notch stuff, too, especially at the time, really cool prosthetics, and Kiefer Sutherland is giving a fantastic performance as David. He does that smoldering, quiet, that that thing that some goth/emo kids will do. Like, the whole like smoldering like thing, or just like, I'm so complicated, I don't even want to have I have too much on my mind to really have a conversation. He does that, and like there's so much eye work by him where he's not always talking. He doesn't even have a lot of lines, but he's doing a lot with his eyes, and he's doing a lot with what he doesn't show. You just know there's something off about this guy. You just know there's something strange about him. And even if you didn't know what it was about, if I just had popped this movie on, you'd be like, something is off with that guy. Because even the other kid, the boys who he turned, they're peppy. They're yeah. Because like it's clear that he's lived long enough. He might be hundreds of years old. He's lived at least long enough that immortality and the whole thing of being a vampire is over. He doesn't care about it anymore. It's not even that big of a deal to him anymore. He's just like, whatever. I've lived hundreds of years. Like, clearly, David is old. Old as shit. And these vampires don't have a lot of superpowers either. They can turn into giant bats, basically, and they're super strong, and nothing can kill them other than, the traditional holy water, garlic hurts them, the silver, all that stuff. But, like, other than that, they don't really have any superpowers. They're just, they're just happy to be. But like I said, this will be the second movie I've reviewed where these guys were, not in Fright Night it was just a boy, but in this one the brothers have to deal with some crazy ass shit. But I love movies like that. I just adore movies where you're just you're just at home chilling. Your mom says, hey, some new neighbors moved in next door. You're like, oh, cool. And you're like, man, I haven't seen the neighbors all day. Like, it's that escalation of, I haven't seen the neighbors during the day. Well, whatever. Maybe they just haven't gotten here yet. And then, you look across the window at night and they were just staring at you, just like, the fuck? And you're like, okay, maybe it's nothing. And your neighbor comes to your house and asks, and he's like, hey, I want to come in. Hey, you open the door up and they're not stepping past the line. and they're just looking at you, like shit like that, where it's just like there's no way you could have been ready to be dealing with vampires. You just moved here. You're like, I'm going back to Lost Boy. You just moved here. Your mom's going through your mom just went through your mom's going through some shit. She's on her own trying to take care of you two boys. You're trying to get in, and next thing you know, fucking vampires. But I loved Fright Night. It's one of my favorite movies. It really is one of my horror classics. I love that movie. Not Fright Night. I do love Fright Night. Lost Boys. But I give Lost Boys a 9 out of 10. I love that movie. I just do. Like, it's just one of my favorite horror movies. It really is. It's so funny. It's so fun. It's so creepy. Kiefer Sutherland's doing a great job. The Frog Brothers are always going to get a win. Sexy Saxman's always going to get a win. That love interest, I can't remember her name, but she was freaking hot as hell, so I'm going to give that a win too. Thank you guys for joining me on Comic Game Movie Show. Please comment below. What did you think of The Lost Boys? And if you've never seen The Lost Boys, do yourself a favor and go see it this Halloween. Thank you guys. I'll see you in the next one.